Welcome, everyone, to the Evergreen Cataloging Interest Group for the month of September 2025. Just talking before we hit recording, it is indeed September. And on behalf of the organizing committee, whose names are listed here at the top, we welcome you to this month's meeting. If you have not joined us before, you are very welcome, and we are very pleased to have you here. I am just facilitator of this fine group, but it takes a lot of people to pull this together on a regular basis. So thanks to all of you that continue to show up and participate in these conversations and to help plan them. Today, we do not have a formal presentation. Instead, we've got quite a few things we're going to talk about. I'm calling it community discussion. We do this a few times a year. We've had a few things going on in the cataloging listserv that I thought were worth bringing back here. And then also, we've got quite a few libraries that are going through testing, upgrading, whether it's to 314 or 315. I'm interested to get any of your feedback so far. We got at least one specific bug, a couple of others we want to talk about as well. So that's it. I certainly don't have anything formal to share as far as slides go, and we'll just take notes as we get down. So if there are, as we get down further in the agenda, if there's anything particular anybody here wants to talk about, please just go ahead and drop it in chat, or you can certainly do that as we go along. I just want to make sure that we get everybody's opportunity to raise any questions or highlight it if they want to, just to make sure that we don't miss you. I am talking and moving some of my screens around here at the same time again. Okay, so really quickly here at the top, this is where I say if you haven't joined us before, the agenda as you see it, everybody has access to take notes as we go along. I do the best I can, but everybody is certainly welcome to add your own notes as we go through the various bullet points here. And then I'll clean it up a little bit and post them to the wiki. Last month's presentation got up late. But Libby McLean from King County did an excellent presentation if you missed it last month on regular expressions. And I feel like it's probably the first of several over the, maybe it'll be an annual event, but we'll look at applying some of that and then following up on it. Some of what Libby presented, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, is custom work that King County does that would be very interested in working with a kind of a subgroup to move forward to test and then talk about what it takes to get that into the community. So I just wanted to follow that up as a note from last month. So thanks again to Libby, who's here today. And I will be picking that up with the organizing committee and Libby to keep that moving forward. So if you're wondering what's happening since last month, we're in conversation. I promise. That said, a couple of just kind of announcements here as we walk through. This looks like a very long agenda. It's because it's got a lot of information on it. I don't read the bullet points to you. The wiki's there. I'm always looking for anybody that wants to help with the wiki. Please do. It's been the perpetual thing on the list to go back and think about reworking it, but it does at least have basic information in there now about our interest group. So I'm just going to skip over that. I do want to talk about the November meeting. Right now, we're scheduled to be on Tuesday, November the 11th, which is a holiday. I will be working, but I recognize lots of libraries are closed, and it is a holiday both in the US and Canada. So I would like to propose moving that to the 18th, just 1 week later. I checked it, it doesn't conflict with any other interest group. Anybody have any objections to moving it to the 18th? Seeing notes are okay with it. Yeah. So give people plenty of time to get there on their calendars because I know that having the second Tuesday is just a routine. So thank you for that. I'll make an announcement and update the calendars. Approved. Their official approval. All righty. So then going on through here, I'll note about release notes, and the release team's continuing to do a fabulous job of giving point releases every month. So the latest ones were released in April. So we're on 315.4 and 314.9 now. The others are just on security releases. Thanks once again to Elizabeth Davis for continuing to update the tabular release notes. All I do every month now, or for the last few months, is just copy over the fine work that she's done. So if you're not familiar with the tabular release notes, again, if you're new with us, we just take the release notes that come out, and there is a tab, hence tabular, for each version. So there's 315, 314. Every time there's a new point release, We just have links to the various bugs, various fixes that are included in there and categorized, because that's what we do as catalogers. We organize, we categorize things so that you can get right to the bugs themselves. And you can also use this as a search tool to say, when did simple reports come out? You're like, I don't remember. It's been too long. You can use this to search. So you can just, if you wanted to search simple reports, you could search all the tabs and say, okay, it came out in 311. I made that up. I don't really remember simple reports came out either. But for example, all right, simple reports. I know you know how to use this, but now that I've said that, I just have to look at myself. All sheets. Okay. And let's try that again. All right. And find is the button I need. We're looping around. 3.9. Really? Wow. Okay. That's been a while, hasn't it? It's fascinating. Okay. Anyway, I've made my screen too big for it to be very helpful at the moment. But there's a simple reporter text. But there you go. So it was released. And if you'll notice, let's go back to 3.15. When there's a brand new version like 3.15, the first thing you'll see is back here when it first came out. There we go. There's the whole new features. And so we summarize what's in each of the features just based on what the release notes are done. There's a team that works with with the release team that puts together very good release notes. And then all we do is just summarize those in this tabular format by the categories that are included in the release notes. So it's worth every now and then just reminding people that this is there and perhaps introducing some new people to it. So there you go. And again, thanks to Elizabeth Davis. And I don't have my screen large enough so that I can see all of you yet. There you are. If you're here, Elizabeth, thank you. If not here, thank you, Elizabeth, anyway. I am making this bigger so I can see who's here. Now I'm ready to keep talking. So that's tabular release notes. I'll leave it open in case we want to look. All right, so latest releases are on the wiki. If you just want to know what version came out, you can find that in so many different ways. A note about the community demo servers, there is a new 3.15.4. So if your library is not yet, and many are not, on 3.15 and you want to test it, the community server is one way to do that. So the first one that's on here that's actually sponsored by Equinox. This gives you the link there out to the staff. And here's your username and password. If you want to use a login other than username and password, we have various logins for that too. So if you want to just log in as somebody with different permissions, we have this note here about the Concerto logins. Concerto is just the data set that's included in all the demos. So if you wanted extra logins, there you go. And if you've participated in feature slush or bug squashing, it's the same set of logins will get you into any demos that's listed here. So it's nice for you to know that there's 3.15 out there if you want to play around with it, as we are starting to talk about 3.15 today. Long intro, so I'm going to skip along. I'm going to say thank you to the release teams. So 3.15 and 3.16 is now fully formed and working their way towards that feature slush in October. So thanks to everybody that's participating in those. Let me pause. Anybody here that working on either one of the release teams want to say anything specific about the work that's going on with the releases? Then I will just leave it with saying thank you. And I did want to, Ava's here. Hi, Ava. I always like to point out, I don't want to go too far. Where are your community servers? There is also a server maintained by the group that does more translations than I think than anybody else we have here. So Ava and the team working with her set of check data, and if you have, if you see any of the notes that go along about translations, you certainly are aware of this. So if you are curious about the kind of work that's going on there, there's an information, the demo installation details, all kinds of things you can see there. So thanks again for continuing to maintain that and for all the work that you are doing. Are you still on 3.13.1 or does that need updating? We'll give it a shot and update it if we need to. Yep. I'll give it a quick. I don't have it installed on my machine, but I need to do that. I have a new computer, so I need to get that back on my computer so I can show it to you sometime. In fact, we may do that in an upcoming meeting. We may just ask you to do a little demo for us sometime. All righty.
I only, sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
only
no.
would like to add that there's a problem currently with the server because we had not few, many attacks. So we have
Oh,
currently to restrict access to our servers only from the Czech
okay.
Republic. But
Got it.
hopefully it will change in some time.
Gosh, thank you for that. I know that so many libraries are fighting those bots and just daily to try to stop the attacks that are coming in. So it sounds like that's a very smart thing to do to limit access. You could still demo it for us sometime and we wouldn't need access. We could just see what you're doing. So I'm making myself a note. There's a problem with bot attacks. And I can put a little note on there. Fantastic. Okay. So development team. So then a couple of other announcements. Events that are coming up. We've talked about the feature slush will be happening in October around the time we get together. We're scheduled to, our next call will be October 14th. So that will have just have happened the week before. So we'll think of October 8th. That doesn't sound right. That's not, the 8th is a Wednesday. The 18th. Thank you, Catherine. I should have just read your notes and I would be there. The week of the 18th, that's also, that's a Saturday. Why can't I read correctly? Let's go back. Oh, that's the reason there's a roadmap to keep me honest. 316. That says the 10/8. All right. 10/8 is Wednesday. That's fine. We'll go with that. Week of 10/8. And we'll be meeting the week after so we can talk about it. And Taryn does an excellent job of sending out all the information we need to be able to participate. Since we're meeting the week before, we may look at having just some time during that week, just working time to come together. So if anybody has not participated before, give you kind of the opportunity to come together as catalogers to do that. So I'll put that on my list to consider just having some cataloger feature slush time once that's announced after the 8th. Right. And a couple of other things coming up. Hackaway is November 10th through the 12th. It is now hosted by Mobius. Thank you very much, Mobius. It's going to be in Columbia, Missouri. The hotel booking link is active. It went out in an email. If you need that link, let me know. Just drop a note in chat, or if anybody has that link and wants to share it, please do. If you plan to go, or if any of your colleagues plan to go, please let both Rogan, Hamby, and Debbie Lukenbild know that because they are making various arrangements to accommodate everybody that plans to attend. Everything from food to transportation, that kind of thing. And as far as I know, it's not a hybrid event. It's an in-person event this year. And then I don't know that we've talked about this one officially is the 2026 in-person conference. I know we talked about it being in person, but there's more information. The date, April 8th through the 11th, being hosted by King County Library System in beautiful West Coast, just outside of the greater Seattle region. There is now a link to the website, and you can actually reserve your rooms now if you would like to for next April. And the website is still just got very basic information on there now, but what it does have is a link to the hotel reservation, or if you want to look at the hotel, and a little information about registration fees. Keep in mind that it is going to be in on the West Coast. Prices will be a little more in the economy, such as it is. Registrations will be a little more, so don't be terribly surprised by that. But if you need that information well in advance, it is now available for you. In addition to that, I wanted to remind people that a note went out about the survey for presentation suggestions. That's still open. And we've gotten very few suggestions at this point. So now's the time as catalogers to talk about things we would like to see discussed at the in-person conference. If you fill out the survey, it can and should be completely anonymous, unless you want to tell us who you are. And you are not committing to anything about presenting. These are just suggestions about the things that you might want to see. Sometimes we'll spend time in the interest group doing that. conversations, but this gives you an official way to send it to the planning committee themselves to start looking at that. And I would say sometime in the next couple of weeks, if you have suggestions, please get those in because planning is going to start in earnest to start looking at programming so that that can be finished in well, in plenty of time so that you'll all know what the presentations are going to be to make your plans for travel and to ask for funding for that. Right. So it's just a quick Google form. I'm not going to click on that. It just kind of says what do you want to see. If you want to have that conversation on the Palo listserv, that'd be fine too. If anybody wants to start a thread there, I can monitor that, summarize them back to the survey. Anybody want to say anything about the in-person conference? And we can revisit it next month and give you a little time to think about it. But as far as the things you'd like to see that perhaps we haven't been able to do in person in a while.
So I had an email from somebody to about the authorities,
Mm-hmm.
asking about creating authorities,
Mm-hmm.
authority records. Would that be, I mean, that's not necessarily, well, I don't know. Would that be something of interest? Or should it be like a authorities working group meeting or a cataloging interest group meeting or
Mm-hmm.
just nobody wants to think about it because authorities, ew. But basically they weren't sure about, you know, creating authority records. So I provided some resources and said a bit about what we did. And
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. One of the things the authorities working group is hoping to do this year is actually pull together documentation for people just getting started. And there's a lot of work has gone into that already, glossaries
yeah,
and FAQs that we can share, and we should definitely do that. But nothing takes the place of talking about it as a group and kind of training. So I think it's an excellent idea, especially since there have been changes to at least the visual display of how you interact with the Library of Congress
right.
authority
But
record.
I think it's more of a how do you actually create if you're
Okay.
creating one?
Okay.
Not just
Got it.
downloading or loading. It's like, okay, there isn't an existing authority record.
Got.
Eh.
Instead of just clicking the button that then
Instead of clicking buttons, you have to, type things in.
you do. So what are those things you type in? And we can create templates? Not yet. We would very much love to. Yeah,
So,
I think it's a great idea. Melissa
okay.
says she would definitely like that too. So we're getting a couple of thumbs up. Okay, let's do that. And it's specific enough, and I like that too. Specific enough, hands-on. At the end of the day, you've seen how to do something. I think those are great for in-person conference.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Uh, excuse me, pardon me. Sorry, clearing my throat. I don't know if this quite falls under what the sort of thing we're talking about, but my library and our system has been switching over to Ingram, like to my
Mm-hmm.
understanding, a lot of libraries have as B&T sort of degrades. And we've been having some issues with the records, like the bib records, the
Mm-hmm.
mark that we're getting from Ingram. Uh, a lot of stuff ends up getting sent back from our particular branch or like our library to our cataloging folks for additional attention. I guess I don't know if there'd be broad interest here, but yeah, like working with vendor files and
Mm-hmm.
from Ingram in particular, like best practices, workflows, uh, getting a sense of how endemic this is and if there are better ways to deal with it.
Okay, definitely. I'm hearing that more and more. That's one of the things on the list now is, we joke about the emojis just show up, but that absolutely is something that stops you in your tracks, keeps you from being able to load records. And so anything that is sent to you that is quote unquote a bad record is something we need to talk about and share experiences. So I like that idea a lot.
They have like full what they claim are full records, not just on order records?
Yep,
Oh,
something like that.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I get the sense that even with the full stuff, I've got a colleague at another library in our system who seems like she sends back at least like 20-30% of what they're getting for additional attention, even paying extra for that.
Yeah. And I was just seeing Mary's note, you overlay the vendor records with OCLC records. I think it's good for people to hear about that process too, especially if they're not an OCLC library, but just to see what that looks like. If you're in a consortium, sometimes some of the libraries are OCLC members and some are not. And so it helps to see what that process can look like if you're not an OCLC member, but you want to know how your records are getting updated by perhaps member libraries that are.
Yeah, and like I'd love it if we could use like if we could do records of our own rather than pulling from the vendor stuff, but
yeah,
like our system's large enough and frankly our catalogers are overworked enough that
yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good to some extent. You know, if I
very
can,
good
to what
point, Diane.
extent I can mitigate that.
Yes, yes, excellent point. Because well, if given enough time, we could all just create beautiful records all day long, but we don't have the luxury of that, do we? But I do see the notes that Mary, I saw your note again. You marked the brief records for later review. I think that's important too. Is just if you can recognize a pattern, and I believe somewhere in one of the threads that I want to get to here in a minute was if you can recognize the pattern of what you, this is sad to say, but expect that will be bad, then you know what to look for. And then if you do find something new that's bad, it can just go into your patterns of review. So we can even, let's just say, in looking for patterns, let's do it there. And to some extent, I would just add to the authorities. I think there's a little bit of that going on too with Backstage picking up archives, a lot of archives customers. I think that we're starting to hear some questions about just kind of what's, Library of Congress is changing, Backstage is picking up new clients, and it's a lot of work to go through. So I think there's just some quality concerns there too. It's more of a transitional type of thing. I don't mean to dismiss the work that anybody's doing, but I do think that there's just some growing pains there. Mary's got a question. Is anyone using BT Cat? Are you interested in using BT Cat, Mary?
So we looked at it because our OCLC contract was ending. We looked at it last year and thought it was not quite ready for prime time. Now, there were some very interesting things about it. And they also have something, I'd have to look at my emails, uh, that you can use it in conjunction with OCLC or, others. And I don't know. But right now, just for the moment, we decided that we weren't going to look further into that working together option because, money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking into it, playing with their sandbox for testing, and it's definitely more difficult, more steps than we've experienced with Connection. But I'm not the one who'll be making the decision, and it may come down to money to drop OCLC, and I'm just trying to make the best of the situation.
Well, we looked at it at ALA in June, and I'm coming from a different perspective since we don't have OCLC, we have Sky River, and the BT Cat looked wonderful to me. Big big difference in the interface among other things. But we are currently um, we're we're locked into a contract with Sky River, so we're not actively investigating it this year.
I'll be curious to see how that goes as you continue to investigate it, because all alternatives are worth, sharing your experience when you see them too. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know more about that.
Well, and it's hard, we only had a demo at the booth, and I
Right.
was, I was I'm not really good at the not showing your feelings. I was like, this is
And
wonderful.
poker face, right?
Yes, I'm not good at the poker. And poker is not my game. But there's nothing like actually trying something or
Yeah.
using something or hearing somebody who's actually using it to be a little
Right.
less
I haven't
boofy.
hit the wonderful stage. Not wonderful.
Yep.
One of the things, like I do batch searches, and on Connection, they have a standard number search which combines UPC and ISBN,
Hmm.
and BTCat's not capable of that. I've got to do one or the other, or one and the other. Two separate searches to achieve what I can do in one search on OCLC. And it just the user interface I find a little clunky, and I'm having to move things around into folders, and then before I can go in and export it out. And it took me, I've been working with it for a week now, and it took me that long to figure out a flow that can approximate what I'm doing now on CLC. But I was hoping someone was here who could tell me why it's wonderful and boost my spirits.
Hmm. Apparently, the demo is wonderful.
Well, and again,
Yeah, it's a
OCLC,
demo.
yeah, and there's money differences among these
Oh,
these products,
yeah.
which
Right, right.
I personally never want to take into account, but yeah, that there is this budget thing, so that
Well,
affects always.
another factor for us is we have libraries who have historical collections they want into our catalog, and we can do that pretty high hit rate on Connection, but not seeing so much on BTCat.
Mm.
The collection's not as robust for the kinds of things we need.
Yeah, it sounds like it may just be in the early stages of, yeah, working
Well, I
with
think,
traditional. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think the difference in kind of hit rate, especially when you get out of the, you know, modern books published in the last couple of years, that's where OCLC has it all over. Anybody from years and years of aggregating records created from different libraries. So
Now, this is going to push us more into doing original cataloging where we didn't have to before.
yeah,
So that's not really a savings in my book, but
no.
And what about, Catherine just asked, Book Where by Web Clarity? I'm not familiar with that one.
Is that really a Z3950 thing, or is it something else? I may be confusing it with,
I'll Google.
oh no, I guess.
Hmm.
another thing, we would not be able to set up our own macros or constant data records. You'd have to hand that off to the BT staff to do for us, and I'm kind of missing my autonomy if they have to go that way.
We're also having a problem with the Z3950 ISBN searching not working.
Yes,
Um,
I can fix that.
you can?
I can fix that. It's on my list to talk about. I guess we should
Oh, good.
digress that just so much about the vendors. I do want to just catch here that just say several libraries are trying this. Okay. I'm going to say provide opinions. That's lovely. That's what I meant. Exactly what I meant. All right. I'm going to drop web clarity because I just wasn't bookware. Bookware. That's
Yeah,
okay.
thank you for not quoting me in case this gets out
No,
anywhere.
no, I would never, unless it's celebrating you.
Mm.
I do that. I like to celebrate things, but no, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so then we'll put that one on. See what that is. Okay. Well, I think we got here because I started asking about conference stuff, and I should know better because I know that we sometimes spend a lot of time on that. I'm going to just kind of put a pin in this now. If you have ideas about conference presentations, let's start a thread on the cataloging listserv. And even vendor products like this, I think it's a great way to use the listserv too to ask questions. So I'll capture those there. Um, not really going to go back. I'm just going to scroll up just to acknowledge the other things that are on the list. I do want us to be able to talk about some of these listserv things. So kind of got through the conference. Here are what's going on with your library. If your library has upgraded or plans to, you can now certainly update this directly if you want to. If you would like to drop a note in Slack, Slack, you can tell what we use internally. If you'd like to drop a note in chat, I will be more than happy to update the notes as well. Because I know it's kind of nice for us to see, other libraries that are working on basically the same versions we are. Similarly, all the other interest groups we like to celebrate, I have tried to update this to the best of my ability and my knowledge of who's meeting when. All this should be reflected on the community calendar. Hooray for all the interest group activity. And if you'll notice, quite a few interest groups have decided to not meet monthly, so I have tried to put in here what those changes are. Well, that's not like Evergreen Admin Group is meeting bi-monthly now, alternating with the permission groups, for example. Okay. Launchpad bugs, I'm going to leave all those there in case we want to look at any of them. These are just counts. They are up to date of the various different kinds of bugs that affect cataloging. So we need to get to any of those. Okay, which brings me to this. I want to talk about the Z3950 server. It's a truncating thing. So let me find exactly the note here. This is one of those that, this happened because Library of Congress, of course, has changed their platform, which means not that we have to change necessarily our configuration of Z3950. We just have to change one little piece of it. There is this ISBN search attribute. Now I'm going to have to find where that lives. Can do that. Search attribute. We're going to get there. I'm going to remember how you do that. It just needs to be increased. So essentially, the way I'm understanding it is you need to be able to bring in a larger amount of data for that field than we were able to do before. If I'm reading Galen's note, title searches still work with truncation. Okay, there you go. The right truncation has to be increased to 100 for no truncation to fix the problem because what's being happened is being cut off and therefore does not match. How's that for a technical explanation? If anybody else can explain that better, I would welcome you to do so. But that's my understanding is it's kind of cutting off the field. So let's see, where does that search attribute live? It's been too long since I've done it. We won't give up. Admin demo 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to this community server. And I'm going to be patient and click on things. There we go. One more time. There we go. All right. Thank you, Gary. Admin, server admin, Z3950 attributes. And what you're looking for is the ISBN. And Gary has very politely given you the exact path that I just followed in the chat notes there. So if you open this, here's that truncation value. And if you increase that to 100 instead of 1, that should fix it. If you don't have access to do that, it's a permission issue. So find somebody that has the permission to make changes to server admin level values like that. And that should take care of your ISBN search issue.
That's great. Thank you. I love a problem that has a solution.
Yeah. So try it out. Let us know. I think there's still, not to go too far, but I think maybe publisher I'm still having trouble with. So I'm still working on that. But ISBN is one you just really need.
Yeah.
Publisher you can do without, but
Yeah.
ISBN you really, really need. All right. So I think that should take care of it. In fact, I'll see if we can't just send a note back out to I know there are quite a few of us here, but let's see if I can't make myself a note. Send the fix out to the group again with perhaps a screenshot to be helpful. That'll be tomorrow, but I'll do that. Okay. Woohoo. Then, if we do nothing else today, we've solved that. I'm going to leave that open. All right. So then other things we just want to talk about then, and this is more, I'm just going to ask you to share anything else you've been doing. And Libby, I know you said that you've been working with Mark Edit on some of this. We have had questions about diacritics separate from emojis, and I've just been pulling from the email archive of the cataloging listserv when I say that. And then I also want to make sure, Carol, that we have a moment to talk about the item tags and templates that you're seeing there. So let me talk. So here's the the email thread that we've been talking about with the importer question. This started with Will asking about C3950, getting kind of some weird diacritics and other symbols in there and what to be done about it. And this is a really good conversation, actually. One of the things that I wanted to bring this back to this group for is Galen saying, there are things that can be done, but we need to know exactly what is the problem. So if you have examples, so if you are finding things outside of emojis, because we recognize that Evergreen just is not going to like emojis. But outside of that, if it's diacritics, if you have something very, very specific that you'll send back to the list, we can then work with Galen on that. He's put his name out there, so we're going to take him up on that. And then we've got some, good examples in here already, I think. This one I liked, and I don't know if Danielle is with us today. I cannot keep moving things around on my screen here. If not, I want to make sure that I share this. This is a really good best practice here. If you find bad diacritics, you can do a keyword search for that offending string of characters there if you want to fix it. And I know, Mary Elizabeth, that you've both at various times in your demos for some of these groups shown how to actually do the query of the MARC records rather than just a keyword search, which I'd like to revisit sometime in the future. But a keyword search is simple enough to pick up something like this. If that's supposed to be pinata and it's looking like that, it's certainly a way to just remind you that you can search for these. And then the suggestion is to put them in a bucket. And so then if you want to go back and fix them, this is a good example for us to use for a future exercise to talk about how you go back and do some batch updating for fixing. So I've stored that away. I did want to share it as a really good suggestion for if you find one thing that's wrong, there might be others. So I wanted to make sure that shared that as a best practice, or certainly as a hopeful way to deal with problems as you find them. And then it's Galen's note. I think it's just repeating. And then Kate talked about an experience with Mark Edit when they made the changes and then it reverted them back. So I would like for us to continue to share those kinds of things that happen. If there's anything we know how to fix them, that would be great. I don't have much more specifics about Kate's, but we will certainly share. I don't think Kate's here today. Maybe there's so many of us. All right. All right. Similarly, and I didn't put it on here, there's some authority issues that are going on with flipping switches. We're flipping the indicators. So anytime we're seeing data that looks like it's changing after we fixed it please, please, please share it. And then we'll make sure that bugs get filed for them, but then also that we want to make sure that we're letting other people know that's happening. And if there's anything you're doing to mitigate it on your end, please share your experiences. That's that for, I'm going to just keep opening things up here. So emojis, we talked a little about, that's just the list. I don't know that anybody has an answer for dealing with emojis to take them out other than Libby. What was your note? Picking on you. I don't mean to. Problem characters. Do problem characters include emojis, Libby, that you're working on?
Yes.
Haha.
And yeah, it's some finagling in Markedit to open in a Mark 8. So if I get a file of UTF-8 records from a vendor, I can convert them into Mark 8, and then that shows them in their code form, and it's so much easier to batch search for a code than it is for like the poop icon. Like, how do
Yeah.
you search that?
Yes.
So there's like a range. I found that there seems to be a range of these emojis that that it seems like there's a bit of a pattern, and so that's what I've been looking for. Is there a predictable pattern of codes that I can search and delete in batch in Markedit and just replace them with nothing or replace them with spaces or um, and build a regular expression that can look for those patterns.
Mm-hmm.
As I kind of have time to work on this,
I
which I
know.
just haven't had time to
Mhm.
like do all of the testing. But I hope to have a solution by our next meeting and maybe, just plunk my workflow into the chat or something.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Um,
great.
but yeah, they've been bedeviling us lately too, and
Yes.
stalling our imports.
Hmm.
So
And then the flip side of that if they do get through the import and then they don't display in any way you would want them to, they're not fun little emojis that are showing to you. They're just weird characters.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we've reported it because I don't know about the Hoopla records because I don't see those, but the Overdrive records, I'm pretty sure we've reported it to them to
Hmm.
say, please exclude them
Right.
from the metadata that you're sending us. And then they say, oh, we'll do better. And then we
Hmm.
get weird emoticons again. And this is not helpful. But I get that they're scraping data from maybe a publisher website. And, the publishers are the ones that are putting this junk in.
Yeah, they are. I think I captured that, and Carol's given us a nice little chart here.
Nice. Thanks, Carol. That's really
You're welcome.
helpful.
We were discussing it because I brought it up
Hmm.
in the Aspen catalogers group.
Yeah.
And so they're working on it that way. I didn't find a lot of OCLC records that have, a couple of the emojis that I searched for. And you can search in OCLC by emoji.
Oh my.
Um, but yeah, so Aspen is working on something that might, get rid of some of these. But yeah.
Fun note. You can search in OCLC by emoji. I don't know if that's fun or not, but it's a note. It's fun for a minute. Okay, there you go. Yes, I think publishers, and I'm going to add that self-publishers are particularly, they have a very special list that they live on. This is great. I feel like we've gotten a lot further than I thought we would with emoji. So thanks to Libby, thanks to Carol, thanks to all of you that are out there actually trying to make this better and sharing it. Fabulous. Oh, I'm so excited for next month now to see what kind of progress we're making. Okay, so we covered ISBN, we covered various different things there. We had our opportunity to talk about why vendors and their records are making our lives more difficult. Now, Carol, I don't want to spend a ton of time, and I know we've only got about 8 minutes here. Nothing really else on our list. I did want to bring this bug up because this is a regression bug, and it's in 315.
Yes, and this was just added to 315 in the first place, so it shouldn't be a bug already. So basically, if you apply a template that has tags in it, actually, am I allowed to share my screen? I've got it
Should be able
open.
to. I might have to stop sharing mine, but then you are certainly welcome to. Oh, here I can multiple. Okay, I just changed it so multiple people can share. You should be able to.
Okay.
I will stop sharing
So
mine.
let's see. Here we are. I think that's the right one. All right. You seeing the holdings editor?
I am.
All right. So over here, and I'll make it a bit bigger. Hopefully that is. So over here, I've applied a template, and you can see we've got alerts, tags, and notes. When I applied it, everything turned green because it changed. We've got 2 alerts, 2 new alerts, no tags, 2 tags added, 2 notes, 2 new notes. Now, if I were to save this, alerts would have 2 alerts, tags would have no tags, and notes would have 2 notes. Now, if I click on tags, it does say that there are tags in here. If you apply the changes, suddenly we have 2 tags. Oops. Nope, except that I just tried to apply changes. And so then when I save that way, the tags will save. If I don't go in there and click apply changes, those tags won't save, even though it says 2 tags added here.
And to clarify, you have to do this even if you didn't add the tags, they were pre-existing in the template.
They were in the template, yes.
Okay.
Now, if you are in here and you're just applying a new tag because you're clicking apply changes, when you
Right.
do that, it works. If you're doing it from like the holdings view tab or item status and you're, adding tags that way, because you have to click apply changes, then they do get applied. It's just from templates.
Yeah. Which a little bit defeats the purpose of a template. A template is to keep you from having to click in the box in the first place. Am
Yes.
I representing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I like Diane's note. So it does apply them, just doesn't admit it until you finalized it. Something like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
say it.
But alerts and notes are fine. They're already, being applied
Yeah.
without doing this. So
Okay.
it's just, fun
I
with
think that's worth
tags.
repeating. So if you went through the same steps again with applying an alert and applying a note, you don't have to go into the box and click apply. It works.
Right.
Okay.
So you can see the difference here. 2 alerts, 2 notes, 2 new alerts, 2 new notes, 2 tags added, but the tags say no tags.
Right. Gotcha.
So, I can't save because there's no barcode, but
Yeah. I can say that I checked because this is always a weird little world we live in, isn't it? I could say because it was Equinox that did the work on this, and it's very clear in the notes here. I can say that Stephanie and and Mike, I'm not even just say developers, you know who our developers are. They are working on it this week. We've had a
yes, I
couple of
did
rounds
see
of
that Stephanie,
yeah,
took it on. So we
yeah,
were very happy about that.
and we've got our own internal, monitoring how the fixes are going. So it's going through its iterations of internal testing here. It's not ready to be released yet, but with the goal to get this, it is being worked on actively, and it's the kind of the one of the highest priorities for this week too. So just to let you know that it's being looked into.
Yay, thank you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It did not
And
make it
thank you
into.
again for everyone,
Oh,
boosting that.
absolutely. Mhm. And really, it makes such a difference when you send notes like that to the list. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's so many bugs that get filed. It's just monitoring them can be somebody's full-time job. And so it's nice to say, okay, here's something that's really needs looking at, and let's add heat and talk about it. So I appreciate every time that happens, somebody sends a please add heat note. So we'll keep this one updated. Carol, between you and I, as far as one or the other of us will take responsibility when this is fixed. I know it'll be updated in the bug, but let's make sure that we get a note put back out to the list too. If I forget, if you'll
Oh,
let me, or
I
I'll
will absolutely send something to the
yes,
mailing list
then
because,
we'll celebrate.
yes.
We will definitely celebrate. That one gets fixed. Thanks for walking through that too, because I know sometimes when I read through this, I'll understand it, but then I start looking at setting up the test, you know, scenario, thinking, okay, what exactly do I need to do? So that's very helpful to see it. Notes work, alerts note, the tags, just the tags. Okay. All righty. Now here's where I promised you could ask questions you want. Man, we got 2 minutes. Anybody have questions or anything you want to drop in chat that I will then take forward to the list after this? Leave myself a note about the ISBN. All right. Leave myself a note there. Anything else? All right. Oh yeah, I see it. We're right at the top, so I'm sure everybody probably needs to go. And there's another interest group meeting right after hours if you're part of that one. So I like not to run over here. So thank you all so very much for being here. I'm going to stick around and clean up the notes a little bit. So I'm going to stop recording, and I will get this updated on the wiki tomorrow. And I am looking for stop recording. There we are. So thank you all so very much. See
Thank
you
you.
next month.